So it has been 25 games since Scott Robertson took over as coach of the All Blacks. And following that result against England at Twickenham, now feels like a good time to stop and reflect on how this project is going. Ahead of the England game, Razor had lost just 6 of his 25 games in charge. 3 of those losses had come against the world champion Springboks, and 1 of those losses came away to Six Nations champions France. Now, for any other team in the world, that would be a more than acceptable record. But rightly or wrongly, we judge the All Blacks to a different standard. 3 losses out of 4 against your greatest rivals is never a good stat, especially when one of those losses is a record all-time defeat at home. And even in some of the wins, the performances haven't felt that great. So why is it that despite the good results, some people are still frustrated by Razor's All Blacks? Well, I've been deep diving the stats, and I think I found the reason. But you are going to have to bear with me on this. So when you look at the stats for Razor's All Blacks, the thing that jumps out at you is the number of passes they make. This current All Black side loves to pass the ball. At one point this year, they were averaging 199.5 passes per game. For context, the Springboks have only passed the ball more than 150 times, twice in the Rugby Championship this year. Now, a large number of passes can be explained by a large amount of possession, which is something that New Zealand have had. New Zealand had the higher percentage of possession in 7 of their first 10 games this year. But even accounting for the amount of possession that they've had, New Zealand still passed the ball unusually frequently. I'm going to introduce you to a new stat here, okay, and it's called passes per ruck, i.e. how many sets of hands does the ball go through between phases. In the Rugby Championship this year, Australia, South Africa and Argentina were averaging somewhere between 1.7 to 1.8 passes per ruck. New Zealand were averaging 2.06 passes per ruck, nearly 15% higher. The game against Ireland in Chicago was the 6th time this year that they have averaged more than 1.8 passes per ruck. And that 1.8 figure is important. Firstly, it's more than any other Southern Hemisphere team is averaging. And secondly, if we look back at the Rugby Championship, we see that teams passed that 1.8 passes per ruck figure 12 times. And on 9 of those 12 occasions, that team went on to lose. And the only times when teams made more than 1.8 passes per ruck and didn't lose was when the other side also made more than 1.8 passes per ruck. Hi! Are you enjoying the video so far? If so, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of this season, and I would love it if you were one of them. You can even get channel membership for just 99 pence a month if you want to. Really appreciate anybody who takes me up on that. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Now, if we look back at the All Blacks' best performances of 2025, the second test against France, the first test against Argentina, the first test at Eden Park against the Springboks, in each of those games, they averaged less than 1.8 passes per ruck. Now, you might be thinking that they pass the ball so much because they're playing razzle-dazzle, keep ball alive style rugby. But the truth is, they're not really. So New Zealand topped the Rugby Championship just about for defenders beaten, with 161 in 6 games. But the problem is they're not turning those beaten defenders into line breaks or meters made, which were both stats where they ranked bottom in the Rugby Championship. But even so, you could still almost rationalise that if New Zealand were dominating territory in their matches. But once again, they're not really. In the first 4 rounds of the Rugby Championship, they averaged just 41% territory, and they had less than 50% territory in 6 of their first 10 games. The time they're spending in the opposition 22 is also dropping. In the first 5 games of this year, they were averaging 31% possession in the opposition 22, but over the next 5 games, that dropped to 21%. In fact, if you take out the Bledisloe Cup games against a very poor Australian team, New Zealand haven't won the territorial battle in any match since the 3rd test against France in July. Now, this is likely influenced by the fact that the All Blacks are reluctant to kick. They usually kick the ball 25 times or fewer per match, compared to the Springboks, who are averaging around 30. Their line-out has also deteriorated as the year has gone on, further worsening their territorial struggles. But the weird thing is that when they do get into the opposition 22, they are actually very clinical. Since the start of the Rugby Championship, New Zealand have been averaging just 6.6 visits to the opposition 22 per match, which is very low. But they are averaging 3.3 points scored per visit, which is very good. For comparison, England averaged just 1.6 points from their 13 visits against Australia. So that just makes it all the more frustrating that they're making such a meal of getting down to the opposition 22. Me again, I'm dry this time. So when I was watching these clips back, what I noticed was in the early games of this season, particularly against France and Argentina, the All Blacks were scoring a lot of tries through their driving maul. Their driving maul was clearly their strongest attacking weapon. And yet, as the season went on, they basically stopped scoring tries this way completely. And I don't really know why that is. Is that because the line-out got worse? Are the opposition doing something to stop them? Is it a deliberate tactical change? I don't really know. So if anybody has a theory on that one, let me know in the comments down below. Honestly, in my opinion, I think they're working too hard. I think they're overexpending energy in the wrong areas of the field. So whilst based on the results so far, I don't think that you can say that Razor Robertson has been a failure for the All Blacks. But I do understand why people find his All Blacks team to be a frustrating watch, especially because a lot of these issues are very long running, and so far he hasn't been able to solve them. Now, he hasn't been helped by a lot of the injury problems he's had, plus a lot of the Blues players have had their form fall off a cliff in the last 12 months. And you've got the elephant in the room that New Zealand have been denied access to their best fly half, which is Richie Mo'unga. So despite Razor having had the equivalent of nearly 2 full Super Rugby seasons in charge of the All Blacks, I still feel we need to withhold judgments. I don't think he's blown us out of the water with what he's achieved, but the win record is still decent, and we need to see what it looks like when he's got his first choice players in the side. So I hope you found that video, if nothing else, thought-provoking. If you did, please leave those thoughts in the comments section down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy your rugby, and I hope that everybody's team wins. Cheers.